To be a leader and to be working with leaders today is probably the most exciting time in my career. We connect you with your superpowers. We help you to recognize them, to articulate them. There is a direct correlation between the success of businesses and the level of discretionary effort that their employees give. Energy is about moving to action. The reason why energy is so important is people act consistently to make things happen.
Welcome to JoJo's Cross Border. Today I interview my business partner, Andrew Dyckhoff, the founder of Energizing Leaders. We're going to talk about what we offer, what the energy means in individual and corporate world. Thank you so much for joining me with the JoJo's Cross Border and as my business partner. I mean, you know, that's like I have two hats. One is an executive coach and business consultant and a YouTube influencer. But what I'm trying to do is not in YouTube influencer. I want to build this channel to explore the differences between East and West. So coaching obviously is very, very, it's an area that's this little misconception between East and West. So that's why this interview about. And also I want you to introduce what is the energy in the corporate world means. And then we can discuss a little bit about the concept difference between China and then UK, British or West as well. Okay. So could you introduce yourself first, please?
Thank you, JoJo. Well, it's fantastic to be here and be with you. So apart from anything else, you personify energy, so it's always a privilege to be alongside you, and I get highly energized by that. So I'm the founder of an organization called Energizing Leaders, and there is an end line which is Strengths Unleashed. And in very simple terms, what we do is help leaders both be energized themselves and then to create higher levels of energy amongst their people, teams, and ultimately the organization. And the Strengths Unleashed piece is how we do it. So we connect you with your superpowers. We help you to recognize them, to articulate them, and then in the nicest way to exploit them to maximum advantage, pursuing your dream, whatever your dream might be.
That sounds like a guru. Superpowers. Okay. So, right. To tell me how we discovered the superpowers for a leader. I mean, it sounds like, okay, right, it's a group, but let's explore what's the methods we use for the client.
So one of the things that lies at the center of our approach is what we call wisdom and science. Okay. So if we take the science bit first, science is about using diagnostic tools, instruments, online surveys that are designed to reveal your individual profile.
Okay.
And we think about three questions. The first question is, where does your energy come from? Because each person has a unique profile, a unique footprint, as it were, of energizing talents, energizing strengths. And so we first of all surface those and play them back to you. The second thing is that each individual, there is a context in which they are going to do their best work because they are most energized. And so we look at that. We have, a means through an online survey to reveal where are you going to do your best work? Because some people are dreamers, right? Some people initiate huge ideas, they're visionary, they're creative.
And then they walk away from that.
Right.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
Yep. Whereas other people, they don't want to have to invent it, but if you give them the direction of travel, they'll work really hard and get deep satisfaction from delivering every time, on time, etc. And of course, every shade in between. So if you understand where you are going to do your best work, and if you understand where your energy comes from, then we look at, okay, when you want to make a big impact, when you say, right, I'm really going to make stuff happen here, we help you understand what we call your energy for impact.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. So basically, with my organizational psychology part of view, we're using assessments, right?
Yeah.
So is that the data collection? We call it the data collection.
Yep.
Is that only pure by survey, online survey, or especially tools we use, or plus some interviews with the coaches? So what is the?
So it's all of those. It's all of those things. So at the heart, we term the approach minimally invasive, because particularly the business leaders we work with are incredibly busy, and if you take a whole day out to do an extensive interview process, that's really tough.
Yeah.
So the advantage of an online approach is that it's time bound, you can do it in chunks, and it's hugely insightful and revealing.
Yeah.
However, there's huge value both in terms of getting feedback. I will often work with your colleagues and ask them, what is it that you're brilliant at, you should continue doing? What should you stop? What should you do more of? And indeed, what you're not doing that you should start? And that human interaction, that dynamic, elicits far more from people than a simple survey does. Okay. So they're complementary and they add to each other. And there is a large toolkit of other forms of reflection that, again, tailored to particular situations, particular people, we will deploy in order to create that deep self-awareness that underpins your maximizing your potential.
Okay. So what is the benefits for the team, for the leaders to do that? I mean, this is a little bit similar than the personality test. A little bit similar. Is it called what is that?
MBTI.
MBTI is very popular. A lot of people use it to understand that's who I am, that's who you are, and then the blame starts. Okay, so that's individual level. But for the organizational level, I mean, what we're describing is discovering using the tools plus the interviews. To getting to the team dynamic. So what is the benefits?
So I think the easiest way for you to understand the benefits at the moment, because we're relying on individuals and their ability to read their colleagues correctly and therefore engage with them in the right way. Some people are naturally talented. Some people naturally have emotional intelligence, but many don't. It's a relatively small proportion of leaders who are naturally talented in that space. Now, what that means is, if you imagine the leader engaging with their team as two cogs meshing together, and my fingers are the teeth, at the moment, it's very loose because we're not precise. We don't actually understand what energizes other people. So when I, as a leader, make a request of my people, there's a huge loss of energy in that interaction. And in practical terms, what that means is that if I don't really understand what energizes you and I make a request, I might get it right, but I might get it wrong. So if you're someone that's naturally highly motivated by building relationships, and I need you to go and attend an important meeting, but it's a long way away and it's a lot of effort, I might pitch it to you that there's a really good opportunity to go and meet some new people and form some new relationships. But if you're someone who, for instance, is highly motivated by visibility, by being seen to be a somebody, etc., the relationship aspect is no motivation at all. So if I pitch you on relationships, you're going to be completely uninterested. If I pitch you though and say, look, here's a fantastic opportunity to be visible in the marketplace and to build your personal brand, right, you're there, right? So what we do is we create a science around the human interaction, and we have another way of describing it, which is slightly less politically correct, is we surface your hot buttons and then dance all over them. And the nice thing is when you do that together and everyone knows everyone else's hot buttons, that is effective and efficient, and at the same time huge fun.
Oh, right. Yeah. So then I suppose once the leaders know what the strengths for each player, for each team player, and then they know the weakness, they wouldn't push that past the weakness to adding a pressure or setting a new KPI for that person, rather than just to utilize the strengths parts, right?
Yeah. So it's logical that the more I can align the task I give to my employees with their natural talent set, the higher the chances of success and the more energized they will be in the process.
Yeah, so you say, will be dance because you are passionate.
You're passionate about it, exactly. We know from deep research that there is a direct correlation between the success of businesses and the level of discretionary effort that their employees give. And we bring discretionary effort when we are highly motivated, we are inspired, we are energized.
I see, fabulous. And what is the next level then? What's the intervention come from then after we're using the science to discover it? What's the next?
Yeah, so we talk about the discovery as a clarification. We call that clarify. And so we use that combination of analysis, instruments, and wisdom in the form of people who know how to interpret them. And the reason we do that, to take you into the next stage, is that's what we call energizing as a phase. So it's taking those insights but turning them into practical actions. But we always ask, so what? Because as former CEOs, there's an expression, you can take the man out of the CEO, but you can't take the CEO out of the man or woman. And I think that's completely true, right? Because yes, we're coaches, but what we're about, it's not leadership development. It's actually making your business go faster, climb higher. And so that's our motivation. And the practical things is we will understand your situation, your context, and we'll help you apply your new knowledge now, both for yourself and your team, to making that difference. And we measure it. So we have instruments that allow us to measure we call them 360s. Mm-hmm. And what a 360 does across 5 core areas. So driving results today, driving results for the future, leading yourself, so that's about skills and knowledge, leading others. And then the 5th dimension is your character, the extent to which you walk your talk, you are a role model, and you follow through on commitments and actions. So that is the framework that comes out of research that we use. Below that sit 64 individual level statements of competency in relation to those areas. And so by getting the data, both from the organization to say what is needed, and understanding you through the lens of what we call triangulation, those 3 perspectives, we are then able with pinpoint accuracy to help you show up as a much more effective leader.
Wow. Okay, just like you say, that's finding your sweet spot.
Defining your sweet spot, yeah.
Amplify it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that framework operates at multiple levels. So the sweet spot sits in the intersection between high levels of positive energy, a compelling goal that's inherently motivational, and the capability that you need, whether that's at an individual level, so your skills, experience, or at a team and organization level, where it's often about systems and processes and financial resources. Have you got the right investment, etc.? So that those 3 things operate both at the whole organization level, right down to the individual level. And when you look at it with that continuous view, that's very powerful because it aligns everything up and down the organization. And as we know, alignment, when people are all aligned, going in the same direction, there is a minimum wastage of energy with people jostling and pulling against each other. So it's incredibly powerful. And what you observe is that businesses make a profound shift in terms of performance. And we've worked recently with an organization that's listed on the AIM stock exchange in the UK, and they were stuck. The founder-led business stuck for 5 years at the same level of turnover, breaking even. And the new CEO to take over from founder brought us in and deployed what we call the Energizing Leader system. And now they're rapidly growing and they're on track to treble their business in the next 3 years. And if you talk to the CEO of that business, he will say that intervention, that systematic approach unlocked what was sitting there all the time but was stuck.
Wow, okay, that's so powerful. That is so powerful. Then how long is it going to take you for this process, like decoding every team members and put all the a system together? How long is it going to take us to?
Yeah, I mean, it obviously slightly depends on the scale, because logistically, the more people you have, it takes a little bit longer. But the actual diagnostic process, that clarify process, can happen in a matter of a few weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then that process of building new ways of working, developing the insights, embedding the insights, typically we would expect to be working for about 12 months to really embed those habits. Very often, though, you will start to see the shift in the results quite quickly. Now, of course, it depends on the business, right?
Yes,
If you're in a retail business, actually the shift can happen in a matter of weeks. But in a longer term business where mining resources or financial services, the impact takes longer to be reflected in the numbers.
Right. Can you also introduce about who we are, what our consultant and coaches, and what their background?
Yes, so we're all former business leaders. We're all really passionate about the role of work in society. So we have a hashtag Happy Sunday Evenings. So we want everyone to be truly excited, looking forward to coming to work, because those highly energized employees deliver great results. So that's what motivates us. We're all post-career. We're about helping the next generation succeed. We just love, rather than going on a golf course and all that knowledge and experience, mostly acquired through the things we got wrong and the lessons we learned from what we got wrong, rather than that going to waste, we're able to hopefully help the new generation learn some things and maybe avoid some of the mistakes that we made. I would say as well that to be a leader and to be working with leaders today is probably the most exciting time in my career. Because you might look at it through the lens of there's so much going on, it's so difficult, climate change, political upheaval, cost of living rises. On the other hand, from a leadership perspective, there's an opportunity to really change the game. We believe in the power of the leader as a catalyst for change. It's like a drug, to be honest, because when you go in and you do that, and you, like we were describing with that company, when you see the transformation and the joy on people's faces, it's just like a drug, right? You can't help it.
Bring your joy and feel satisfied.
Joy,
right?
satisfaction, and re-energize ourselves, right? Because when you see other people, then so that's why we do it. And my wife is retired, would love me to retire, but
that's to keep you going.
That's not going to happen.
Leading all the consultants, back behind you from the UK, right?
Yeah, and so we've got a wide range of experience. So we've got people from all sorts of industries, from financial services through to power generation at another end of the scale. And what we're very careful to do is match. So we believe leadership is leadership. So I won't put a mining and engineering CEO with another mining business typically, because it's not about the marketplace and your knowledge. Leadership is about the leadership in your context, but we can, and we do think very carefully about matching the right style of the individual, the right experience of the individual, so that we have the maximum catalytic impact on those people.
Cool. So that's the intervention. And then what is the results? I mean, why people buying for our consultants are all coming in, coaches? And what's the next step then?
Well, I think, so the third step we talk about transform. So that's about embedding sustainable change. And at the moment, as we know, with the busy world that we live in, it's very easy to get overwhelmed. There's an English phrase, frazzled, right? That your head's just, you can't quite concentrate properly, etc. And so what we found is that big change initiatives that are complex simply don't work. And there's some really frightening statistics. Even McKinsey are saying 80% of their change initiatives are failing. So we've really looked for a different way of thinking. And so what we've come up with is what we call the micro-energizing rituals. And so these are simple disciplines that you operate that have a profound impact on how the business works. And an example would be how many businesses are really good at setting agendas. We have a really simple way of setting the agenda, and the rule is you have to share the agenda before you have the meeting. Now what happens is people look at the agenda, a third of the people look at it, well, I don't need to be at that meeting.
Oh, okay.
So immediately
saves the energy.
It saved their energy. You've got productivity that you're now redeploying elsewhere. Having real clarity about the purpose, objective, outcome and outputs of the meeting, that's what PO3 stands for, make sure that you get where you want to get to, you're clear about the outcomes, etc. And that allows you to focus the effort. And then we always take time to reflect, did we achieve what we want to achieve?
Right.
So we use a thing called edible, and edible stands for exceptional, difficult, even better, and what can we learn?
Oh, okay.
And so what you're doing is if you embed that as a ritual, first of all, you're setting a super high standard, right? What was exceptional? You're giving permission to people to have difficulty that you then resolve. You're focusing on improvement, what could be better, and you're focusing on learning, so you're creating a learning organization. And most organizations know that they should be learning organizations, they should be developing their people, but busy managers, there's never time to do that. But if you adopt this ritual, every meeting becomes a learning opportunity, and leaders become leaders who develop their people, but it just happens automatically embedded in the organization. So our obsession is, what can we teach you in 5 minutes that will transform your business? So we think that's a really different approach to wholesale change that has dramatic impact on your business.
Absolutely. I would say that's like you changing the whole organizational culture.
Yeah.
For
Through some simple, powerful messaging embedded in consistent ritual and habit.
Okay, so what I can see, like, I'm from China. We always like measure, we always respect energy, but it's all in the individual level. So you have a high energy, 高能量, or low energy. But now with energizing leaders, we also talk about the same things, but energy in the organizational level, in the team level. Start with the CEOs and then the team, top, bottom, or bottom up. It doesn't matter. But it's energy talks in organizations.
Yeah,
right.
I agree. And energy, mostly people talk of it as a good feeling.
Yeah.
But actually, energy is about moving to action. The reason why energy is so important is people act consistently to make things happen. And so that's why as well, we're really keen to measure. So measurement is absolutely where it's at. So we measure at the individual level, we measure at the team level. So we're able to measure the energy generators and the energy disruptors within a team. And that allows you to again, diagnostic, scientific approach to identify the things to make better, to amplify, and the things to stop. And then at the organization level, we have a whole organization survey across 7 key areas that is deeply powerful in revealing what's going on. And you have to have the discipline. You measure as a benchmark, but 6 months, 12 months later, you need to measure again.
You see the difference,
to see the difference. Now, we would expect the difference to already be showing up in the business performance, but as we know, business performance is also hugely dependent on market movements, on all sorts of other factors that you can't directly attribute to this kind of investment, which is why we use consistent measures that actually measure the inputs as well as the outputs. But this, data, science and wisdom, measurement lies at the heart of that.
What a great combination.
We hope so.
Okay, I got another question to ask you, Andrew. There's so many Chinese corporations, companies coming to the UK and Europe. So what is your advice for those companies for now in terms of how to get this energizing teams working in the UK?
I think that comes down to an understanding of the context in which you're operating. Now, we tend to use the word culture for that. So culture is, if you like, how we do things around here. Yeah. And another way of thinking about culture is, what are the unwritten rules of being successful or getting ahead within a given organization? And I think what Chinese companies have to recognize is that the rules are different. And so the analogy I use, and forgive it's quite an English analogy, but it's the difference between playing football, soccer with round balls, and playing rugby with oval balls and carrying the ball about. So if you come onto the rugby pitch, which is probably the England side of things, and you try and play by the rules of football, people will crash into each other. There will be a lot of damage and hurt. So it's really important for Chinese companies to recognize that there are real differences. And I would suggest, and this is often actually quite challenging, because having worked with Chinese businesses and other Asian businesses, we tend to assume that because we're successful doing what we do, that that's the right way to do things. And therefore, the stretch challenge is to let go of those assumptions, because otherwise the risk is I'm judgmental, right? So in China, I think nothing of working 12-hour days. It's kind of expected. We all do it. It's all part of our culture, and actually that's energizing for us. In the European culture, it's really not. That's seen as inefficient. It's sometimes called presenteeism.
Or even illegal.
Well, even illegal, indeed. Technically, it would often be illegal. And my encouragement to people coming over from China is to say, don't make a value judgment about that. Ask instead, how do I understand the system over here? And it's a two-way street, right? Because we also need to value and understand some of the tremendous value of hierarchy and a caring hierarchy and all those things that are deeply in that Chinese culture can very effectively deployed in the UK context, for instance, as long as you understand and get that balance right. And it's frankly not something you can guess at. And of course, JoJo, with your cross-borders business, you're a real expert in this. I've done some of it, but actually getting it right it's not hugely expensive. But it's an investment. If you don't make it, means that you will then put your broader investment at risk.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much for today.
Great to be here, JoJo. Thank you.